All right, hi guys. Today we're doing distance and midpoint of segments, which is section 1.3 or third round of notes. So today we're going to learn a couple different ways to solve these problems. I'm going to show you how I do it. If you don't want to do it the way I do it, that's completely fine. You can use other methods as well. I'm going to show you every possible method. So today, first off, it says plot the points A and B. So I'm going to plot A at 2, 5. B is at negative 6, 3. And I am going to connect those. All right, so it says find the midpoint of AB. Remember, midpoint is in the center, it's in the middle, it's going to cut that segment in half. So here's how I do it. I'm going to zoom in here. I see how I go from A to B. So I say to go from A to B, I can go down 2, I can go over 8. So for my midpoint, it's going to be half of those distances. The midpoint's in the middle. So instead of going down 2, I'm only going to go down 1. All right, instead of going over 8, I'm going to go over 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is my midpoint. So my midpoint is at negative 2, 4. Okay, so that's my method. I just kind of look at it graphically and think it through. If you don't want to do that method and you want to learn a formula, there is a formula for midpoint. So here is the midpoint formula. It is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. I'm not a huge fan of using the midpoint formula because, let's be honest here, we don't want to memorize another formula. That's why I like kind of the more visual aspect of it, but by all means you can do it. So we're going to practice using the formula just once so we can kind of see what it looks like. So it says find the midpoint of CD. If C is negative 4, 6 and D is 6, 14. So what I mean by this x1, x2, y1, y2, I'm going to label my points. This is x1, y1, x2, x2, y2. And we're going to simply plug those into our formula. So our formula says x1 plus x2. So my x1 is negative 4 plus my x2 is 6 divided by 2. My y1 is 6 plus my y2 is 14 divided by 2. We're going to simplify this down. Negative 4 plus 6 is 2 divided by 2. 6 plus 14 is 20. And now one last round of simplifying. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So there is our answer. So again, I don't care if you use my graph method or if you use the formula, either way is fine. I do recommend kind of like the more graphic and thinking it through. It does kind of help you solve all different types of problems. Example 2 here. It says M is the midpoint of segment RS. Point R has the coordinates 2, 2, and M has the coordinates 4, 3. Find the coordinates of S. So that's a whole lot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to graph it. So real quick, I'm going to just make my axes here. Okay, so there's my axes. I'm going to plot the points they give me. So I know I have R at 2, 2. So there's R. And I have M at 4, 3. Our goal is to find S. So let's think about this. It says that M is the midpoint. So right here is our midpoint. All right, there's our first endpoint R. Okay, so we know from here to here, that is part of our segment, is half of it. We need to figure out where S would be. Now, if M is the midpoint, that's the halfway part, S is going to continue on further down this graph because it has to keep going that way. So I'm going to look at it graphically again. Let's see, how do I go from R to M? So I go over 2 and down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're in over 2, down 5. So if that's half of it, I can do the exact same thing over here to find the other point, S. So I can go over 2, down 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This point right here should be S. And so now you have on that other point. So M is in the middle of them. All right, you have RS as your segment, and it all works out. So S's coordinates there are 6, negative 8. So my answer would be 6, negative 8. All right, so that's midpoint. This next one is distance. All right, distance is how long or length. So other words for distance, I want you to write these out. It could be the length, how long, etc. Okay, so distance means length and how long something is. We're gonna plot the points. C is at 1, 2. And D is at 6, 4. Like always, I'm going to connect my lines, or connect my points. It says find the length of CD. You can also find the distance between point C, D, or ask to find CD. So like I said, there's tons of different ways we could say to find the length, so making sure you know all those vocab words to see there. Now there's two ways again. We have using the distance formula and using Pythagorean theorem. Now I'm going to tell you right now, my favorite is the Pythagorean theorem because A, it's a lot shorter, I think, and easier, and you have less chances to make the math. So we're going to do this one first. All right, so if we're using the Pythagorean theorem, I hope you probably saw this back in middle school. Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and we use this on triangles. All right, so if I look back up at this picture here, I'm gonna have to make a triangle. I did that earlier. So my triangle, how do I go from C to D? So I go down, 2, I go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you see the triangle I have now? If I highlight that, here is my triangle. I've got here, here, and here as my triangle. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to do the math and we're going to solve for it. Now, Pythagorean theorem, your A and your B values are going to be those side lengths you just found, 2 and 5, and C is going to be what we call the hypotenuse. So I'm going to say 5 squared plus 2 squared equals, and we don't know what the hypotenuse is. We're going to try to find this. We're going to keep that as C squared. Time to do the math. 5 squared is 25 plus 2 squared is 4 equals C squared. 25 plus 4 is 29 equals C squared. Now our goal is to find how the length is. We just want plain old C. Right now it's squared, so we have to do the opposite of squaring, which is actually taking the square root of everything. We're going to take the square root of 29 and the square root of C squared. The square root of C squared is just C, and then we have the square root of 29. I prefer you just leaving it as like that. You can type it into your calculator, so if you use the square root of 29, you get like 5.385. So I'll take either of those answers, but I usually just keep it as the square root because it's less work for us. All right, so that's how I do it. That's the main way you can do it. The other way, if you want kind of a more complex formula, is the distance formula. So the distance formula is the square root, okay, parenthesis, x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Same thing, we plug in our points. All right, so we can label our points and kind of do it from there. So we'll do a quick example of that. So C is x1, y1. D is x2, y2. All right, so if I do my problem here, square root, x2 is 6 minus x1 is 1 squared plus parenthesis, y2 is 4 minus 2 squared parenthesis. We're going to simplify a little bit. 6 minus 1 is 5 squared plus 4 minus 2 is 2 squared. 5 squared is 25. 2 squared is 4. So my final answer is the square root of 29 again. All right, so I don't care which one you utilize. As a heads up, I probably will not be giving you these formulas, like distance formula, on a test. So if you can memorize it, cool, awesome. If not, you can always use the Pythagorean theorem. All right, we're gonna do one more problem here. It says find x, y. So what I want you to pause this video and I want you to try this one on your own using whichever method you want. All right, you can do the distance formula if you want, or you can do the Pythagorean theorem method, but pause it, try it on your own, and when you're ready to see the answer, unpause and we can talk about it. So hopefully you've tried this on your own. I'm gonna make my axes real quick. So there we go. Okay. My points are 2, 1. That's x. Negative 3, 14, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I've drawn my points in. I have done all that. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to put in my size of the triangle. Let's figure out how far over we go. So we go over 5, we go down 13. Like I said before, I'm going to utilize the Pythagorean theorem method just because I think it's a little bit easier. So I would do 5 squared plus 13 squared equals c squared. 5 squared is 25. 13 squared is 169, and then c squared. Add the 25 and 169, you get 194. Take the square root of both sides. And so my answer is the square root of 194. Now, if you did this for me, you should get the exact same answer. It's up to you.